Hi. Today is July 7th. Um, and I'm sitting here on this ball so you can see me a little better. So, anyway, I thought I'd take the time for this video to talk about. This is not going to be like the normal, what I did the last few weeks, because it's been like 3 weeks since I've done a vlog and there's been a lot going on. And I will talk about that in a separate video. But for today, I have a message to anybody who is skeptical of community living and wants their children in a developmental center or an institution. I want to explain the difference between institutional living and community living. Institutional living, you get a lot more people. I mean, there may not be a lot of staff, depending on the institution, and they may not get the care that they deserve because there's too many people for them to take care of. They may not get as many community outings. I know from my experience, that's what happened with me. I got the care I needed, but I didn't get very many community outings. They may expect your child or adult to do things that they are not able to do, which in some situations was the case for me. And they may they may expect too much of your child or adult. And well, I mean, I wasn't expected too much of, but maybe in some areas I was. Although this was a residential school, not a developmental center or a state hospital type of institution. This was the type that was a school, and I'm trying to see if I can get up there to visit, just to visit everybody and say hi to everybody, because I did have very good experiences there. Don't get me wrong, like a lot of good experiences, but there were quite a few bad. There were a few bad ones as well. He was very just defiant and stuff there. I think being out in the community, yeah, I'm still defiant, but not normally at the level I was. And if I am defiant at that level, it's somewhat rare. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is, depending on the institution, I mean, yeah, if it's a residential school, your child will receive an education. But if it's a school for, let's say, autism, and your child has autism in a wheelchair, they will accommodate that, yes. But if they're autism like savants, or they may not know how to deal with it, then you might start seeing autism or Down syndrome or asthma or whatever. Then you might start sometimes seeing exclusion from different things, from extracurricular, the traveling for extracurriculars, because that's what happened with me. I was excluded from traveling because of my autism. They didn't know how to handle people with autism very well, for extracurriculars. So another thing, because it was a blind school, they didn't really specialize in autism, even though they had autistic people and they knew somewhat how to work with them. It was just extracurriculars they're kind of having a little bit of an issue with. not an issue, but they didn't really know what to do sometimes. Also, in community living, you'll get more of the care that you need, depending on how your staffing situation is at your house. But if you have the right support, you will get the care that you need. So supports can be tailored to your needs. And another thing about institutions, they will try to keep you in center for things like work as much as possible. And I am not a big fan of in-center personally, because it was not my cup of tea. I was bored there. I mean, I had more behaviors in center than I did in the community. So that didn't help. If I had a slight behavior in the community, they'd be like, oh no, you might have to stay in center. Like, that was a problem. And in the community, I got a job that they didn't realize this, but the job was not very good for me at all. Because it was one of the jobs was something I was very bored with, and at this thrift store that I worked at, and another one was just I was afraid of getting electrocuted because it was testing electronics to see if they worked. Another job, there was another job that I worked at that was very good, excuse me, and it was at a nature center with animals, and I had, and everything else, it was a nature center. And I had a great time there. And there's sometimes in school where I pretend it was Hogwarts just to get through. And I pretend that certain teachers were teachers from Hogwarts. I got to go home on weekends, holidays, and summer vacation. And in school, in regular school, you get dropped off and picked up every day. I got dropped off and picked up until I was 11 because I was excited about the dorm. And I at first liked it because my friends were there. But the only thing was, when I went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, the staff would grab me and run me back into my room. And that happened a few times. And the next year, I had a tape player break on me, and I used it to fall asleep. And they told me to lay down, or they put me outside. And that's part of what would happen to your child in an institution. I mean, institution, they may be able to go out in the community, but like I said, not very often. Or not unless they signed up for an activity during the month. Or unless they go on a field trip if they have classes that day. If it's a school. But anyway, community group home living is pretty good. There are some that are not so good, so you want to watch out for those. But group home living, for the most part, is very good. You get to be in a day program every day, if you're lucky to find one, for your particular disability. And that was the staff. And you have a better quality of life, I feel. I mean, yeah. And if your child is having to move out of an institution, or adult, I should say, is having to move out of an institution into a community home, there are some great community options out there that are close to your home, or, depending on where you live. There are some great options out there. Do not be afraid to have to go 2 hours away to find the best group home for your adult. So do not be afraid. And do not be afraid that they're not going to understand the day program. Day programs now are starting to have community programs for people that don't understand work and things like that. They do have those kind of programs out there. I am in one of those programs where they only do some work type stuff. Yeah, I'm in one of those programs, and let me tell you, it is an amazing program. Amazing. I mean, I have had some issues with them because they do not understand blindness very well. But other than that, they're just amazing. And I couldn't have asked for a better program. It's just more about educating them. I'm having some minor problems where I just need to be educated on certain things. So anyway, yeah, that is the difference between a group home and an institution. And also, like, institutions are huge places. Like, huge. Well, where I was not that huge, but some places are huge. Depends on the size. Well, the institutions could range in size from, like, smaller, like my residential school, or large institutions like state hospitals and whatnot, and developmental centers. And if you're looking into an institutional placement, look into a residential care, because that may provide you the closest thing to an institutional life. If you want your child in an institution, I would suggest looking into residential care placement. But, if there's nothing like that available, then I would stick with what I gotta say, and I would recommend seeking a group home for your son or daughter, or a shared living situation if you're not able to take care of them, or an agency if you want to keep them at home for personal care assistance, people like that, depending on your child's level. So yeah, that is the difference between a group home and an institution. And I will talk to you guys later.
Stop button. Stop button. Stop button.